Okay, thank you very much. Right, so next up, we've got Brigitte Bruhanoff, who is the TV product owner and team lead for Elisa, and she's going to be interviewed by Annette Schaefer, who is managing director at Big Picture, and they're going to look at building a next generation platform that competes with the best, and we're talking about Elisa Elemus.
Where do you want to sit? Here?
I think we sit in the middle, huh? Here?
Here, okay.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear myself a little.
It's getting a little bit warmer up here than in the room.
So you still have to be there in cold. Here it's warmer.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for joining us, Brigitte. And I think you have interesting insights in smaller markets and how to compete into the pay TV market in a very competitive environment. But I think it would be good to give the audience a little bit of a stage which market you are in and what you have done or what you're responsible for.
Yes, good morning to everyone. I see that we are getting more and more faces in the room. That's good, but not too much, also good. And we did get on the stage without falling down also. Well done already. But in Elisa, I think it's a good story. I think we all know that our families and our friends, they don't know what we are doing, right, at work. They have no idea. And my mom has been saying for 6 years that she's doing something in Elisa. I don't know what she's doing, but now things have changed. And now she's saying that she's taking care of TV customers, and she's making sure that they have video running on their TVs and that they are happy while watching it. So I think now she knows what I'm doing there. And that's a quite good conclusion of that. But actually, I'm product owner of TV services and making sure that we are developing what customer is also expecting and prioritizing all that. And we have 5 different services. 4 of them are end of life and 1 of them is a new one.
So before we talk about the ones at end of life and the new one, for not everybody in the room probably knows what Elisa is. Elisa is actually a Finnish company, is one of the oldest telco in Europe. And
we are the Estonian branch.
Genau, and Brigitte is responsible for the Estonian branch, and they have launched as I said, you have 4 old TV services, you have launched a new TV service. And it would be good to explain a little bit what were your experiences and what is the decision process behind launching a new one and pretty much shut down the old ones.
I think I first have to say that Estonia is a really small country. In Estonia we have 1.3 million people by the numbers from today morning, and if you compare it to London, it's 9 million living here. So it's a bit of a difference, but Estonia's market overall is quite competitive. It is really small, but we have enough operators there, and we have new ones coming, and also the big giants are trying to be competitors. But in the end, I think the biggest competitor is you yourself rather than the others. And 3 years ago, we started our project with 3SS and also Technicolor to have a new set-top box that would cover all different networks, as we have DVB-T, DVB-C, IPTV, and now also OTT. And we used to have different set-top boxes, different services, and they were old and they needed some change, and there were so many limits already what we could develop. And then now we have one set-top box that covers all the market, and you can take it anywhere. You can use it in your city home and also at countryside. And we are still having all the networks working.
So you have still the old infrastructure in place, but you have one product and service across all of the different infrastructures.
Definitely, we still have some old infrastructure working, and also from backend side we had to make sure that everything that we have before remains working, and also that the new one would be working.
And how did it resonate with the audience? How was it well received, or did people migrate easily to the new services, or was it something that was they run in parallel, so they still receiving, say, satellite services and have an OTT as a complementary service in their homes? So how is it? Do you have more you were upselling more the customers, or they were replacing more of the customers?
We went live last August, and as we still have tens of thousands of customers using old services, then it takes time for them to move to a new one, and it takes a lot of resources for them to move to a new service. But they are taking on a new service more and more, and we see different age groups adapting to newer service.
So you're catering to different audiences, and what was the advantage? You went OTT, I understood, right? So
Yeah, and we still have some TVP channels also working.
So you have a mix from parallel, from
Yeah.
linear and non-linear portfolio.
Yes, and also in our service you can see the live channels, the linear version. You can have catch-up, VODs, our own content. Everything is there.
Were you able to grow the market? I mean, you have a limited addressable market of 1 million,
1.3
million
yeah.
people.
Yeah, about 600,000 households. Definitely, it gave us some point where we could grow, and also Estonia's market. I think it was a bit abrupt that now, while we had this situation in end of February, and then we had to shut down some channels after that. So I think this surprised us all, and also the customers, and now it's interesting to see who went where and how many of them maybe will not be using TV service.
Yeah, I think that for everybody familiar with the regions, but a lot of Central Eastern European operators had to shut down a lot of their Russian channel portfolios because of the situation in Ukraine, and I think that from not only from a technical standpoint it was a challenge, but also you're losing a lot of diaspora and audiences in these markets, and that also causes a lot of, people are complaining, and so it's probably
Definitely.
there was you had to make a decision, but I mean most of the operators decided to shut down the channels and no longer broadcasting them, right?
Yeah, so the market is definitely interesting, and interesting to see what they are going to do next. And as before, we had the advice what to do if you are a smaller operator. I think we went that way. We went for Android and trying to use cloud as much as possible to make seem that we have more money, right?
So you have to keep an eye on your operational expenditure and where you place your bet. So is it device, or is it more on the content side? But I think what we just touched a bit was about this impact of this linear channel shutdown. But what is the impact from your point of view of the international giants? So do you think that the audiences in these smaller markets are really longing for Netflix and Amazon Prime and HBO? Or is it something that you could bring also as an aggregator to them? Or is it something that you compete with? What is your point of view on that?
I see that we want to be aggregators as much as possible and take in the big giants with open arms as much as possible, as much as they are wishing to come. And we already have Amazon Prime, and we do have Viaplay, who is also now quite a big player, let's say. And we are waiting forward for Netflix to also come with open arms to us. So if anyone knows anyone, then you can drop a message to them. But I think it's one part is that thankfully they don't have Estonian subtitles, so they are not so huge competitors to us, because Estonian expects to have Estonian subtitles. But one day, soon enough, I think they will have, and then it's also easier to get Estonian customer by them. But being a small country, it's always not so easy to get the attention from big players to try and get them on the service.
I think it's the need for increasing the audience reach for Netflix will become more imminent, but I think you touched a very important point that a lot of people don't understand in these markets, that you have to subtitle, you have to localize your services, and unfortunately or fortunately enough, the resources for localization are very limited currently, because the big players had to, because of mandated by the EU, to start localizing. So it's very tough, and those operators, like I guess Alisa, you have a long history in localization, and you have resources to go to, but you not only subtitling, but you also do voiceover, right?
We don't do voiceover.
They don't
usually
really
no,
do
only for the kids movies they do
Yeah.
voiceovers. But
Yeah.
Estonian is not looking for having a voiceover, thankfully. Well, now I've been living in Spain, then everything is in Spanish voiceover.
So, and when you start the service, talk about the content side, do you think that there's a huge market entrance barrier for these global players to go into these smaller markets? Because you said the audience is used to subtitling, but also there's a different taste or a different appetite for content?
Definitely, because one advantage that we all has as the smaller players in our markets have is that we have the local content. We have our own content. We have some content that they also would enjoy that's more for their taste. So it's not only the subtitles, but I do see that we are adapting more and more to the also big giants and watching their content. Younger generations, definitely.
Definitely. And do you think there's enough available to keep them in the service? I mean, from the global giants that attracts them, or is it more like for a few months and people binging and then they pretty much leaving the service and coming back to you guys? Or can you see already what in your audiences that viewers are watching Amazon Prime, as you just mentioned, and then going back to your service or going back and forth? Do you see any cohorts of users or viewers that switching between your linear or your offering and the ones that you're aggregating, or can you see any data on that side?
Well, thankfully Estonians are not so strong cord cutters, at least not yet, so they are also staying with us while they're watching Netflix. And but I think that for some services, not bringing anyone out now, is that they might run out of content in a few months. But for some of the others that will keep on giving out new and new and new content all the time, I think they won't have the problem, and they might be still keeping us and also keeping, for example, Netflix, because you still want to watch the evening news. For Estonian, it's a normal thing that at 9 in the evening you have to watch the local news. You can't go without it. And also you want to see the local TV shows.
And how you think that local content is still quite important?
I think so. I think it will be more and more important, and it's the thing that you can differentiate yourself from the others and be more than the giants. And I think also if you compare being a giant or being a small operator, is that as a small operator you know your customer really well, and you know what they want, you know what are their habits, you know how they watch TV, and also if you are part of this team that is developing a service for a small market and in a smaller company, then your voice is always heard and decision making is fast. But for example, I saw a video on TikTok, which is not maybe the best source of information, but still of a guy who's remaking UIs of different services, not naming any big giants here. And people saying also in the comments is that this UI is awful, please do it now and change it to the ones that the guy is showing. And also the big giant then contacted the guy and they said that we are really sorry, this is amazing, but we can't do it because it takes so much time to get to the top level to make the decision. But now if we think that we want this button to be this big now, we want to have it in green tomorrow, then it's green. It goes green.
So you talk about a small team, I guess, and more agile and being able to respond to changing behaviors or promoting different content, so you don't have a long decision process. Was it also transition from in the way that you operate when you decided to disconnect it, to say the traditional broadcast or the traditional services, that you changed also your organization that is launching the new or the OTT service that you mentioned in August? So is it different people, or is it pretty much the same people that operated the previous TV offering?
Well, when we started developing the service, we had our main team was 4 or 5 people, the core team. I think it's good comparison that some teams have like 40 people. But we had 4 or 5 people of core team, and the same ones we standed there until the end and went live. So the team didn't go bigger. Now we are a bit bigger, and we have more people joining us, thankfully. But yeah, the team remained the same, and I think we did really well with a small team. But also I think our partners were the ones supporting us a lot through the process. And if you are a smaller operator, then I still think you can do amazing services, great ones, if you have right partners. The same as in life, if you have right partners, you can do great things. So just pick the right ones, I think.
So speaking of the right partners, I think that's also going to the previous presentation. So you have to have scale.
Yes.
You don't have to invent the wheel. So take what's in the market and use it and go for it instead of developing all on yourself. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's good point is that otherwise you will spend like 3 to 5 years on your own doing something, and it will be then when you go live it's old in 5 years.
That's true.
With your MVP.
Yeah. And so what are some recent changes, things that you see right now that's changing, or things that you're preparing for, any roadmap, any plans for the next, say, 6 to 12 months? What do you want to add on a content or on a technology side or on the offering to go to market? There's some new stuff that you're currently looking into, or is it pretty much at the moment stabilizing the business because of the overall situation on the political side? And I mean, I hear a lot operators in the region, they're saying we keep business as usual, and some are saying we're not developing anything new right now. But what are your plans for the, say, anything on the roadmap, something interesting?
Definitely. We haven't stopped since we went live now in August, which is 8 months ago, I think. And first it was stabilizing the service, and then we have had different situations happening, but we are still keeping up with a roadmap that's, I think, never ending, and we are trying to find more and more ways to see that the customer is more and more happier, that they have multi-bit rate coming, and they have different streams working really well, and that they would be happy with the service. And I think we'll still keep on going and hoping that everything goes well. And I do hope that in next 6 to, I don't know, 36 months we don't have different crises coming up, and it's business as usual instead of any chips running out and someone doing something crazy. So let's keep it normal now, please.
Please. So we're almost at the end of this fireside chat, but any questions for Brigitte from the audience about her experience? And
oh no, John.
Oh no, John.
Yeah, I think obviously this idea of the local content being a key differentiator, what can you do with the local broadcasters that would sort of make that even stronger, that relationship, so that you know, the big globals can't come near you?
I think what you can do is that you can do content together with local broadcasters, what we have done. And we have done several series together with different ones in Estonia, and it has worked out really well. And so your competition sometimes can be your friend also.
Is there anything in terms of the user experience? I mean, do you have, you know, we've heard of people sort of aggregating the broadcaster content into its own little kind of section. I mean, people used to talk about that. I don't know if anybody ever did it, but is there anything you can do in terms of the user experience that helps the local broadcasters?
If you want, definitely you can. If you want to have them to have a different corner, but it might be a question of, do you want to have them a separate corner in your service?
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Any other further questions?
Okay.
So we're keeping the theme, right?
Thank you.